Uh-huh. Okay.
There he is.
So, hi, how are you doing?
I thought I'd log in a few minutes early today, just in case.
Um, okay, folks. So delighted to have you here with us this afternoon for this module on AI, redefining the future, with the cutting edge of AI insights from our colleagues Joe Houghton and UCD. Joe has been kind enough to bring us into the space of um, what I would say is the up-to-date knowledge in terms of the AI space over the last kind of period and keeps up to date. And Joe has a phenomenal a newsletter which I commend to you all in terms of logging on to. And Joe equally has a very good post on LinkedIn, which will be in the chat as we go on during the course of the module. Now, the Institute, as part of its knowledge sharing ethos, runs these masterclasses once or twice a month and has been doing. I think this is about the 60th one we've done, Joe, since the start of the program, which actually transversed across COVID, and it was quite helpful. And they are available on the Institute website and also on our LinkedIn pages and our YouTube pages. So, that being said, for any of you that are interested, you can get information about the Institute on social media and on our websites and so forth and so on, which has been updated at the moment. Conscious of the fact that it's not me you're here to see, but more so Joe. So I'm not going to take too much of your time and waste the valuable time that Joe has given to us. But I would say we are, and Joe and I were discussing this a little bit earlier, I think to our collective minds in the foothills of the Himalayas, in terms of the speed and size of the prize in terms of AI. It's really almost escalating at a rate of knots down, keeping up to date and keeping pace in terms of all the different nuances and I suppose leaps forward has been extraordinary. So from that perspective, it's timely, Joe, that you're updating us on something that you actually were updating us on the last time we were talking about. And again, it's just the breadth and scope and speed and pace of the evolution in terms of the technology is extraordinary, and the adaptation and the flexibility that's coming through is very much kind of part of that. And you know, as we were saying earlier, probably one of the challenges as us mere humans have at the moment is keeping up to date in terms of all the information and updates that are coming through, even on the platform that we're on. You know, since last we spoke has had about three or four incremental changes in terms of the technology available. So, with that, and without any further ado, I hand over to you, Joe, to illuminate us along the path of digital and transversal skill sets in this digital world we inhabit at the moment.
Super. Well, thanks for having me on again, Pat. Good to be back. Yeah, I reached out to Pat about a month ago and said, it's January since we talked about AI last, and there's lots happened. It might be worth kind of having another session. So I'm just going to show you some stuff that's current. Maybe talk a little bit about what's coming. And the chat is open. So if you've got any questions as we go along, I mean, there's not that many of us actually in the room. So either unmic and just ask a question, or pop it in the chat and we'll address things. So I mean, I'll show you some stuff. Pat's going to jump in and ask me questions now and then, and kind of make sure that we kind of explore the things that he wants to explore as well. As is my wont with these AI type sessions, I've created a Notion document. So let me share my screen. Find the share button. There it is. Okay, I'm going to share my desktop one. Are you seeing that desktop one now?
Yes, Joe, we are. If you, yeah, perfect.
Super. Okay. So this is a tool called Notion. If you haven't played with Notion, I would encourage you to have a look at it. And it allows you to put together pages with links in and images in and videos in and all kinds of stuff. And I tend to put these pages together for this type of a session now. And then you can publish this page. So I've shared the page and I've published it, and it publishes it to a persistent URL. So if I copy that URL and I put it in the chat, you can now click on that and you will get to that web page. And if I update anything in this page, it's automatically live on the web. All you do is have to refresh your browser. Okay.
Presto.
So yeah, really, really good for distributing information and keeping everybody on course. So there's a few bits and pieces there about kind of my background with this AI thing. I've done 3 books on AI now. They're all on Amazon. The newsletter's got 2,600 readers now, and I try and put about 1 a week out. It's 5 to 10 minute read. Just tells you what's going on with all the different tools, so that you can maybe stay on top. And I'm doing a lot of corporate training and courses and things on AI as well now. Okay. So I thought we might start with kind of, I had a think about where's AI gone since we were last together, in the AI space. And I mean, obviously we've had better models come out from all the main players, so there's this constant incremental increase in the power and the capability of the chatbots, whether that's ChatGPT, which still has kind of like 70–80% of the market. I mean, this is the one that everybody's heard of, and it's the only one that most people use. But it's by no means the only game in town. So we will be discussing some of the other chatbots today. I know Pat was wanting to talk about Perplexity, which to be honest is my favorite of the AI chatbots. So if you haven't heard of Perplexity, there's links down below to Perplexity and other things. So I'd like to kind of just talk about some of this stuff and show you some of this stuff as well, if that's okay. And we are recording, so if you don't need to take notes, you'll get a copy of the video, or you'll get access to the video, and you'll be able to play it again and follow through if you want to. Okay. One of the things that I think really early on when ChatGPT first came out, this is something I wanted to see, and the big tools now are offering this, is spaces where we can upload multiple files to then use as a knowledge base. So rather than just running prompts in, say, ChatGPT, the open ChatGPT, you can load up your own knowledge. Now, this might be, papers to do with some research that you're considering doing or whatever, or it might be, you're researching a client engagement, or like I'm doing at the moment, I'm putting together a new course. So I'm gathering information from lots of places, websites, papers, extracts of books, this kind of stuff. And we can now go to the different AI tools and upload those into these spaces, and then kind of run queries against that knowledge set. So you've got the power of the AI, natural language, asking questions, and then you can do that. So Claude is a very powerful AI tool, which was started by a couple of guys that left OpenAI, who make ChatGPT, and they wrote Claude, which is they've kind of pushed as an ethical AI. It doesn't share any data into the general data set by default, like ChatGPT actually does, unless you turn it off. Okay. Perplexity has spaces, similar thing, where you can upload information and do it. But I think of the tools that we've got out at the moment, the one that I would recommend most highly for this use case, okay, is Notebook LM, Google Notebook LM. So let's just click on Google Notebook LM and let's just show you this. So you come into this fairly basic place, okay, and you can create a new space, or you've got ones that I've used already here. So here's one that I created the other day, and I wrote a little book a few months back called Applying AI to Close the Accessibility Gap. It's all about inclusion and accessibility and UDL and how AI can help in that space in education. So I've uploaded that book as a PDF. Now that's a 400-page book. Okay, so this is a significant amount of information, but I can upload 50 sources. So if I wanted to add something else to this this notebook, here's the sources. So I can add a source, and you can see we've got the option to add Google Docs and slides. We can add a link to a website. We can bring up YouTube. We can add in YouTube videos, or we can paste text in. So if you've got text from somewhere, you can just copy it and then paste it in. Okay, and you can see here, my 400-page book has taken up that much of the available space for this notebook. So I think you've got 5 million words of space for a Google notebook, which is a lot. Okay. So even just this one source, if you come down to Notebook Guide, there's a couple of things. Now I'm just going to start that running because I loaded a conversation earlier. You've got these one clicks that you can use, right? So generate me a quick briefing document on my book. So you click on that, and now it's generating. So this is kind of like a predefined prompt. Okay, give me a kind of summary of the sources that I've got checked here. Okay, so there we are. So that's a 400-page book, and what it's done, it's pulled out the main themes, key ideas and facts, okay, and some of the examples and stuff, and it's just given us a quick overview, and that's there saved as a note. Okay, so we can do these one-click things, you know, an FAQs, a timeline, study guide. Okay, study guide's a cool one. So if we generate a study guide, now it starts to generate kind of questions and answers and stuff like this for you. You imagine, you know, loading up a paper that you've got to revise to class, or you've got, you know, a client has sent you, I don't know, a couple of big documents about them or whatever, and you can put them into Notebook LM. It doesn't go anywhere else. This data is firewalled just to you. It's not going anywhere else. Okay, so here we are. We've got a short answer quiz generated there, and there's the answers below. Okay, we've got some essay questions. We've got the glossary of key terms generated pretty immediately from this. Okay, but the thing that's really got people excited in Notebook LM is something that came out 2 or 3 months ago, and it's the ability to create an audio podcast of whatever material you've loaded up here. So that's what this thing up at the top right is. So this has created a 13-minute audio podcast based on the material in this book. So let me just play you a little bit of this.
Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at AI and education.
Fascinating topic, really.
Yeah, and to guide our deep dive today, we're looking at this book, Applying AI to Close the Accessibility Gap.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What I found really interesting about this book is it goes beyond just giving us a bunch of tools. It's really about using AI to make education truly accessible for, like, every student.
Absolutely. And it really champions UDL as like a framework for that, you know?
Yeah.
Not just kind of tacking on accessibility as an app
So let me fast forward into it a little bit further.
on time, reducing the risk of seizures.
So AI can really play a vital role in supporting, like, the holistic well-being of students, not just their academic progress.
Right.
It's about creating a learning environment where every student feels safe, supported, and empowered to learn.
Exactly. It's about removing barriers.
Now, I mean, this to me is just magic. I can see Pat's enjoying this as well. Yeah.
I'm transfixed, Joe. This is a whole new universe that's just dropped. Wow.
I should have saved this to the end, shouldn't I?
I'm just in awe of what's coming next. I mean, you know, that's a slam dunk right there.
Yeah. I mean, this is just so amazing. And I mean, you know, you can upload your CV into this, okay, and it'll create a little podcast about you with the two hosts kind of talking about you and, you know, talking you up and stuff. And a lot of my students are doing this and then embedding that little podcast into their LinkedIn site. Yeah. So people who perhaps might hire them can kind of click on that and just have a listen about them rather than having to read some boring looking CV or whatever. I mean, the possibilities here are endless. Creating a client briefing, on a topic. Yeah. I can imagine, Pat, you write these kind of blog posts about kind of issues of
Yeah,
interest, don't you, every now and
yeah,
then? You kind of
yeah.
put them out. So you could write a blog post, but then you could upload that into here and get the blog post generated as a little discussion as well. So you're offering then, if you follow universal design for learning, you're offering the ability for people to choose kind of the medium that they're consuming the information in, the multiple means of engagement. Some people like to listen to podcasts. I mean, I listen to them in the car,
Yeah.
or if I'm peeling the potatoes or something at home, I'll very often just pop a podcast on, listen to it for 5 or 10 minutes, and whatever. And these things are brilliant for that.
Well,
Uh,
they are actually, I mean, that is stunning because even, we would recommend in our other life in terms of corporate governance, in terms of using technology, but up until right now, we would have been sending out video blogs, for example.
yeah,
Okay. So, the potential for people crashing cars because of is always on our mind. Whereas if it's just a blog, kind of that
audio.
particular piece
Yeah,
of, just transformative. Wow. I mean, wow.
yeah. So this was the first one to kind of hit the market. Okay. And it's funny because I was reading yesterday that the employees of Google, who were responsible for generating Notebook LM, have just left the company to start their own company up.
Hell,
So
please.
yeah, so I suspect we'll be seeing more of this technology. So this is Google Notebook LM.
Wow.
And I mean, this takes me into, I think, one of the big things that we've seen in the last kind of 6 months, and particularly maybe even in the last 2 or 3 months, is the introduction and the rise of far better voice interaction than we've ever had before.
Now, Joe, just a question for you on just
Yeah,
that notebook piece, and you referenced it kind of just maybe for the audience. That whole piece about ring fencing your, I suppose
your data. Yeah.
your data or your kind of secure kind of knowledge ring fencing.
Hmm.
That particular piece of kit, from what you said, would be more secure, for example, than ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ChatGPT, if you set ChatGPT up right, let me just bring the browser up again and just fire up ChatGPT. Okay. And I'll just show people what they need to do with ChatGPT because a lot of people don't know this. They're using ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm signed into ChatGPT. Now I have got the pro version, but this doesn't matter. What I'm going to show you is kind of like, for everybody, whether you're on the
Mhm.
free version or not. Up here,
Mhm.
you've got this little drop down and you can turn on temporary chat. Okay, and you see the screen's now changed. So now you're in kind of like incognito mode,
Ah,
in your browser. Yeah. So this chat will not be saved in your history, and the data won't be shared with anybody else. Now, because you're online, it's going to be stored on the Google servers for a while, but they say maximum 30 days, and then it's all wiped. Okay, and they're not going to use this data. So that's one way of doing it. Okay, so I'll turn temporary chat off. But you see, normally you're just doing this. Now,
mhm.
if you don't want ChatGPT by default to be saving your data, you need to go up to your little icon in the top right hand corner and you need to change the settings. Okay, and hidden away on the fifth setting is, I think, the data control, the fourth setting there. Okay, data controls, and you need to turn this option at the top off. Improve the model for everyone. Because what that's doing by default is saying anything that you put into ChatGPT is going to be shared in their training data. Okay. And if you haven't turned that to off, by default, everything that you've shared with ChatGPT is going into their training data set. And I think that's a bit naughty. From an ethical point of view, but that's the way that they have it set up at the moment. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. That's very helpful for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that's one of the key things that you need to think about with ChatGPT. Okay. Um, Notebook LM doesn't share your data. Okay, so you're safe with Notebook LM. You're safe with Claude, and you're safe with Perplexity. Okay, none, those three don't by default share your data. Copilot, the Microsoft chatbot, if you're working with the free version of Microsoft Copilot, and I stress the free version, right? Because there's a free version and there's a kind of corporate version. Okay, if you're on the corporate version, when you fire up Copilot, you have this kind of little green shield on the main screen of Copilot, and you know that you're in the corporate version of Copilot, and that is safe. Okay, that's not, your data isn't going anywhere other than, you know, in your corporation, your company, whatever. But the free version of Copilot, so if I open another tab up and we just fire up regular Copilot. Okay, so this will bring up Copilot. Okay, it's always asking me to sign in. There we go. Let's see whether I can. So yeah, sign in with my Gmail, and I think that's the password for now.
You're still using Mayo for Sam, Joe, are you?
There we go. So there we are. So you see, there's no kind of indicator here that I'm on the corporate one, because I'm not. I'm just using the regular Copilot that anybody can use. Now, the free version of Copilot under the covers is driven by ChatGPT. Okay, so by default, the data that you put into Copilot will be shared out unless you've turned off. And I don't know whether the link between Copilot and ChatGPT picks up the fact that you've turned off share the data setting in the ChatGPT settings. So I'm a bit leery about using Copilot for anything sensitive.
Yeah,
okay.
got that.
Yeah. So just be aware of those. Now, if you have got more sensitive information, the two apps that you should be looking at are Claude. Okay, so Claude is one of the most powerful AI tools. Okay, and again, you've got lots of different models here. One for writing, Opus, and Sonnet is kind of the quick and fast one and stuff like that. And Claude has a much longer, what they call context window, a kind of, you know, temporary memory to hold all your chats than almost any of the other AIs. Okay, so Claude is really, really good. And Claude also has some other really fantastic smarts, and these came in this year. Okay, so one of those is, let me do this. Create me an interactive HTML quiz on GDPR as it affects SMEs in Ireland. Ask 5 questions with 4 options per question. Yeah, and if I get the answer wrong, show me the correct answer. Okay, now watch what happens when I hit enter. It goes into this mode which is called artifacts. Okay, and what it does is it now splits the screen and it starts to code us a web page. Okay, look, no hands. Okay, so this is now going to start coding, and normally we would be seeing the code trickling down the screen here as it's coding the website. So either it's not showing that and it's generating, or we are, let's see, let's just stop this. I don't know whether I even can stop it. Claude Opus, let's maybe go to Sonnet and see whether that was doing it again. Create me a quiz on GDPR in HTML. Okay, create me. see whether it was because I was using Opus, which is not. Yeah, here we are. Right. So look at this. Can you code this fast, Pat?
No, I might struggle on that last section at that speed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We'd have a couple of full stops out of place probably if we were trying to code this quick. Okay, now, so you're getting this code, and then you're going to get a web page that you can run. So here we are. Look, here's the preview of that web page. Okay, so what does GDPR stand for? So I'll click something. Okay, now it's kind of giving us an error message. Okay, so I can now come over here and I can say fix the error when I pick an incorrect answer and make it more colorful, please. Okay. So now it'll go through and it'll kind of check the code and it'll fix that error. Yeah. But it will also now get a more colorful interface. So you can iterate. And this is the thing with all these tools. You know, whatever the tool is, it's a different way of working to the old way with Google. You've got to treat this as a conversation. You've got to treat this as a research assistant or a co-worker almost. And this is how you get the most out of it. You never get the right answer, the complete right answer first time from any AI, just like you don't from a colleague. You know, you ask the colleague, right, so now we've got a more colorful thing. So let's see. Okay, there we are. I got that one right. Next question. When did it come into effect? It was May the 25th, so I presume it was 2018. Okay, yeah, there we are. Another question. Okay, looks like I'm getting them all right. Okay, now that's wrong. So it's showing me the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Okay, quiz complete. Scored 3 out of 5. Now, I can publish that quiz and copy the link. Okay, and now you can do the quiz.
So that link, Joe, where are you going to use that link particularly?
Right, so that is now a live web page. That
Where?
quiz, yeah, on the Claude site.
Okay, so it's branded Claude,
yeah, and it's I've put it in the chat. So if you're online and you want to click on the chat, you can now go and run that page, and that's a live quiz. And if you wanted to go in and edit the code, here's the code, right? And this is an editable code set. So I can copy that code set and, you know, download it into a text editor or whatever, make changes to it, no problem at all. And I can even download that HTML as a file onto my local hard drive as well.
That's excellent.
So we've created an artifact that would have taken days probably for somebody to code previously in a matter of seconds.
That's really powerful.
So this you know, this is one of the things that came through in recent months from Claude. Okay.
So that actually kind of is a mini Survey Monkey, but quicker potentially.
Well, it could be, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I've never tried that. So you know, if we started a new conversation, okay, create me an interactive form to gather, I don't know, answers to 2 questions. You know, how tall are you?
Do you believe in Santa?
And yeah, do you believe in Santa? Okay, interactive form. Okay, let's see whether it actually give us a form that we can actually put data into. Okay, so you see, and it generally goes to use React, which is a creation tool. So there we are. How tall are you? I'm 180 centimeters, and of course I believe in Santa. Submit. Okay. So there we go. Now I've no idea what the back end code is, where that is saving to at the moment. Yeah. But what I could say is, can you save responses into a CSV file on my laptop.
Ah,
Let's see. Let's see whether it'll allow us to do that. Okay.
I was
No,
thinking.
but I can generate the form to generate a downloadable CSV file that you can save locally.
And is that, I suppose the question is, can that be updated live in responses?
Presumably. But this is it. You kind of try it, see how it goes. The form now stores the responses and gives you an upload. So let's preview that. Okay. So I'm 170 centimeters, and I don't believe in Santa. Submit the response. Boom, boom, boom. Where's my download for where's the download button? Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So there
Excellent.
we go. So 150 centimeters. Yes, I do. Oh, look, there we are. Download responses as CSV. Yeah. So I've got to submit the response, have I? Yeah.
Yeah, you need to submit.
Or maybe we've got to publish this and run it for real. So there we are. We'll copy the link. Let's put that into my browser. Okay. So 120. I'm an elf. Submit the response, and then I want it to download the responses. So it doesn't seem to be working yet, but I'd work on it, and it would work. We
No,
can.
that's outstanding. Yeah, interesting.
Unbelievable, this stuff. So very, very powerful.
I mean, we were having a conversation earlier briefly, Joe, about kind of the use of AI interloping and overtaking some particular kind of job and roles. So one of the references I was making is translation.
Yes.
Skill doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, there was a whole cottage industry of translators out there who were gainfully employed 5 years ago, who suddenly are no longer gainfully employed. That whole industry has disappeared virtually overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. Create me a 10-line Christmas carol. Okay. So let's just right. So we've got a Christmas carol. Yeah. Okay. Translate this into French. Yeah. Just done. Yeah.
Now put in a prompt to set it to music and play.
Yeah, I don't know that you could do that, but you could jump over to is it Suno? I think is
Yeah,
the generator, isn't it? So if we dropped into Suno and signed in with my Google account.
Joe, you must have a full-time job just keeping up with your passwords.
Yeah, well, I tend to use Google to get into most things. So here we are. Okay, so let's take that Christmas carol. Yeah, I don't want the mobile. Right. So song description. Boom, 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 boom. Yes, next. Okay. Create. Let's see what it'll.
And while it's doing that, Joe, I came across a tip. If you do one of these, okay, and do it up, and you upload it up into Spotify, okay,
Yeah.
on your free Spotify account, and hit play, repeat, okay. McKinsey did a study on it that if it'll generate about 5,000 to 7,000 a year in net income to you based on that. If you just get an old banger of a phone,
And
okay,
just kind of keep running it. Yeah.
repeating, yeah, you will generate a static income. I tried it. Now I did it. I must admit, an awful piece of terrible music, and it worked. And I actually got a small kind of stipend from Amazon after going through all their kind of compliance things, which is more painful than actually the thing itself. But yeah, it worked. I have to say, I couldn't fault it.
Unbelievable. And I mean, you can see I've done a few here. I mean, here was one I created when I did.
You like that one?
Yeah. Walking through the halls, Innovation Academy, catch me crafting ideas, styles be like alchemy. Alan Morgan mastermind was sharp like malice. Got that vision crystal clear, no need for challenge.
Now, I
Writers of Hamilton must be bleeding with kind of fear at this point, Joe.
and you can choose the type of music you want. You can edit the lyrics. You can extend it. You can, it's amazing the stuff that you can do with that.
So
Um,
from I suppose a management consulting point of view, I mean, the areas that a lot of our colleagues are interested in is kind of data crunching, data visualization, that whole report writing.
yeah,
And I have to say, prompt engineering is obviously very much kind of at the center of that as well. I mean, one of the things I took away from the last time was the ask me questions to enhance the output. I thought was one of the great tips. So you put in everything you have, and then you put in a kicker at the end. Ask me any questions that would add value to your output. Or the other one was to kind of at the start acting as a world class X, Y, and Z. But put in the term world class reflective of current best practice, generate a prompt, blah, blah, blah. So topping and tailing with that can actually, super blast the potency of your prompt.
absolutely. I think I mentioned it in one of my last couple of newsletters. I think it was Claude have just released it. Maybe Claude or it may be OpenAI, I'm not sure. But they've just released this kind of super prompt generator. So basically you go in and you give it your basic prompt and then it rewrites your prompt for you,
Yeah, I've used it. It's unbelievable, Joe.
amplifying it. And it just like turns this your prompt into this amazing, and the outputs that come out are just so well crafted that. So that's the link to that is in the newsletter.
But
Um,
so just again to reiterate for the guys and girls that are on here, the key lesson here is you have to treat AI as almost a child in terms of being very specific in terms of what you want it to do. Talk it through, keep talking it through, keep washing it through, and be very specific. And don't assume that it will make iterative jumps. The more information you can give it, the better.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this thing of conversations and iterations and things, whether we go, so I mean, all the apps now, all the major AIs have got downloadable apps. So you can do this now on the browser if you want, or you can, I've got, ChatGPT. Here's the app for ChatGPT. Okay. So one of the things that was on the app and came onto their browser, I think last week, they've now got kind of super voice into interaction. Okay, so let's just. Hi ChatGPT, I need to know about GDPR and how it affects a small consulting business that I'm going to set up based in Dublin in Ireland. What do I need to think about?
Setting up a consulting business in Dublin means GDPR compliance is key, given it's a cornerstone of EU data protection law. Here's a rundown of what you need to consider. First, data processing principles. Ensure personal data is processed lawfully, transparently, and for a specific purpose.
This sounds
Only collect what's necessary.
This sounds very complicated. Is there anybody I could go to kind of offer me advice? Are there any, consulting firms that you'd recommend in Dublin, perhaps, that could help me with GDPR?
It can definitely feel overwhelming, but you're not alone. In Dublin, there are many consulting firms and legal advisors who specialize in GDPR compliance. You could look into firms like Deloitte, PwC, or smaller local firms that have a strong reputation in data protection. It's worth having a consultation to understand exactly what your business needs to comply with GDPR.
There's a crowd in Dublin I heard about called the IMCA. Can you tell me about them?
The IMCA, or the Institute of Management Consultants and Advisors in Ireland, is a professional body for management consultants and business advisors. They provide support, resources, and a network for professionals in the consulting industry.
That sounds really useful. Have you got their web address?
Yes, the website for the Institute of Management Consultants and Advisors in Ireland, IMCA, is imca.ie.
Brilliant.
There you can.
And have they got a phone number?
Yes, you can reach the IMCA by phone at +353 1 634 9636. It's always a good idea to give them a call for any specific questions you might have about membership or their.
This is,
Hey,
this is
I put my hands up, Joe. She got the phone number wrong, but other than that, she's perfect.
I was about to ask that. Did it get the phone number wrong or right? So there we are. And not only have we just had that conversation in almost real time. Yeah. So this is something that you could use in the car. You know,
Wow.
you're driving down to court. Ideate your next thing that you're working on with ChatGPT, and when you get back, the whole conversation is in your chat, is in your ChatGPT history. So you can go back now and mine that conversation and stuff like that, and you can interrupt it, and it'll give you follow-up questions and all kinds of stuff.
So it's interesting, Joe, in terms of, and I think ChatGPT is obviously the one that a lot of people are using by our steer of it. But interestingly, as just looking at your screen there, one of the things which people are beginning to explore, and you see explore GPTs, is building their own GPTs.
Yeah.
So I noticed, for example, when we talk to colleagues in the profession, that they are, if it's it's a small SME house, that they're building their own kind of GPT model and putting up their own kind of, so it has their own tone, it has their own
Yep.
information, and it's kind of speaking in their language, for example. So I think, for example, what's your thoughts in that particular field at the moment?
Yeah. I mean,
Better ways of doing.
here's a GPT that I built recently. I do a lot of amateur photography judging and stuff. Yeah, I created a little GPT here to be an expert photographic competition judge. Okay, so if you're if you're in Palmerstown, camera club or whatever, you can upload your images to this GPT. So if we click on the plus, yeah, you can upload a file. Okay,
Yeah.
so and this will let me go to, let's go to print photos. There we are, and let's find an image. Okay, so I've got, I don't know, this macro image of a fly.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'm just going to hit enter. And this is the multimodal capability. Okay, so now it's going to provide critique based on FIAP guidelines. So here's a critique. This macro photo of a fly demonstrates an interesting choice of subject, capturing intricate details. Yeah, and focus on the fly's head is critical. Da 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 da. Okay, so I've got general insights, impact, story, technical composition. I've got a critique based on the PAGB, the UK, one of the UK kind of competitions. The PSA is the Photographic Society of America, and then it would give me a typical kind of score out of 20 that I would get from a club judge.
Okay.
So you can set a GPT up with any kind of data set. So
And is there a limit to the data set that you put in, Joe?
it depends on, I mean, some of them have got a more limited capability than others.
Okay.
But the Chat GPT one is pretty good, and you can upload a good amount of documents to that.
And is there in your view, is there a better one?
I've used Poe. Poe.ai is one that I've used a fair bit. Let me bring Poe up. Poe.
And by the way, folks, that screen shows all the books that are worth getting for your Christmas presents list. I would recommend them all. I have to say, Joe.
So if I log in to Poe, so this is, and I don't think I've actually got this in the Notion document at the moment. So remind me in a second, Pat, and I'll do that.
Sure.
Okay. So here we are. I can create a bot. Okay. So what kind of a bot do we want? We just want a prompt bot. Okay. So this is going to be a bot, and we're going to call this, IMCA consultant buddy. I don't think anybody will have used that that name. It's not more than 20 characters, maybe. Okay, we can choose which of the GPTs we want to use. So let's say 4.0 mini. There we are. Right. So you are an experienced consultant offering advice on GDPR for small businesses in Ireland. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to, I could now add some knowledge sources. I could upload a PDF or a document that I'd written on GDPR or whatever. Okay, so hi there, ask me anything about GDPR. Okay, and then there's some advanced stuff that you can do.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Let's create that bot. Okay, I don't want a picture. Okay, right. So there we are. We've got a bot now, a consultant buddy bot. So how will GDPR affect me if I set up a counter therapy service in Leakslip? Okay.
So, Joe, that can be then put in as a drop-down kind of bot into your website, for example.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here we are. So it's giving me some advice now on things I need to be thinking about when I do that. Okay. Now, if I want to share that bot, I can share. I've copied the link to the clipboard. It's in the chat. You can go and talk. You can go and talk to that bot now.
We get a lot of questions about kind of actual bots for small SME kind of consultants, just in terms of putting bots in and so on. So that's therein is the lesson. That's actually how you do it. Thank you, Joe. It's funny. I don't know why, but people are often asked that question about bots. So it's just an.
Joe, could I ask you a question?
Please do. Yeah.
Given that we're still at an early stage with this technology,
Yes.
I mean, what do you see, for example, for IMCA? I'm retired, so it doesn't affect me. Let's say somebody is 30, 40 years old in our profession.
Yeah.
The impact of this technology is going to be about a decade out from now. I mean, we've already talked about language translators being made redundant, and history is full of jobs becoming redundant due to automation. It's not something that's new because of AI. What strikes me about AI is that it is advancing at a far, far rapid pace than previous industrial revolutions, and therefore has an enormous potential for huge economic disruption. You're saying, well, why would I bother paying some member of the IMCI a fat fee when I can go to your bot and basically get 95% of the advice that I need? It's the same way that people today, turn up at their doctor, more or less tell their doctor what the problem they have. Having looked it up on Google before. And so I'm interested whether in all your work with this, you have thought about the longer term implications of this technology for society, for an economy.
It's going to have a massive implication on society. I mean, this is going to be one of the most disruptive technologies we've ever seen. I was actually listening to Mustafa Suleiman, TED Talk earlier today, and he said that in his view, and he's kind of chief AI guru at Google. I think it's Google. And he said this is going to have as much effect as electricity had. It's going to touch every single area of business, and it's going to transform some. It's going to eliminate some. It's going to create a whole lot of new opportunities and new types of jobs as well. So it's not all going to be downside, but yeah, we're in for a tsunami of change. I mean, for the consulting profession, I think consultancy is as much as anything based on trust. I don't know what you think, in the audience, because but and I know we've got Aidan on as well, and very very experienced consultant. Good to see you there, Aidan. But consultancy is based on people come to a consultant, they can get the knowledge elsewhere. You've been able to get the knowledge from Google for years. Yeah, but I want to come to Frank, or I want to go to Aidan because I know that they've been around a while. They've consulted in this area. They've seen the wrinkles. They've seen the implementation challenges and the change management issues that happen. When we're trying to go from A to B and stuff like that. And I don't know that AI is going to be able to give you that nuance yet. It's certainly going to be able to give you all the data. And it'll be able to pull it together faster than we've ever been able to pull it together before. But I think we still want somebody to act as a facilitator or as a Sherpa, or to just walk along that path with us who've done that before. And I think there will still be that level of comfort required, if you like. So I don't think we're going to be out of business as consultants. I don't think there'll be any harm in adding AI to your consultancy knowledge base, though, going forward, because this is going to provide a fairly lucrative source of income for many consultants, as a lot of people who are still shying away from this whole AI thing. It's too scary. It's moving too fast.
Joe, what I'd say is our observation so far is twofold. It will have a huge impact, Frank, and it will disavow a significant portion of management consultants. There will be kind of two types of management consultants in 5, 10 years' time: unemployed management consultants and management consultants who embrace AI as an assistant. Okay, so I think the future absolutely is AI integrated. And what we're seeing actually now is kind of the evolution of niche and uber niche. Consultants are moving to an uber niche, very specialist space. So there is an ocean of data out there, but you still need to humanize it and translate it so that people can consume it. And that is that narrative storytelling ability and the delivery of knowledge in a fashion and manner that is human. Now, certainly AI is a wonderful tool for the collation and harvesting of data, but the dissemination of it, that's a whole different kind of kettle of fish. And I would say it's getting better, but our view at the moment is that it will have a catastrophic effect in a section of the community. But moving forward, it's a bit like someone was saying, similarly in medicine. Doctors in the future, there'll be two types. There'll be those that are using AI as an assistance, and those that are kind of retiring early.
Yeah. And I mean, Niall's making an interesting point there in the chat. He's just said, man walking, aside us. Is this like the man carrying the red flag in front of motor cars when they came out first? And kind of almost, it is. And I mean, it's interesting that these questions came up now. We're kind of 10 minutes to go. Let me scroll to the bottom of the Notion doc. One of the things that's coming in 2025, 2026 are agents. Okay, and agents are tasks that link together. We've already seen this. Anthropic Claude have already deployed a simple tool that can take over your computer and can run tasks on your computer and move from application to application and do stuff. Okay, so we're gonna have that, but what we're also gonna see is and I put a thing together on this, was embodied AI. So, Elon Musk is working on this. There are a number of companies working on robots with humanoid, attributes who can pick things up, who will be able to literally do the washing for us, cook the meals for us, become a companion in our homes like another person. Yeah, and this AI will know French and Spanish and will know everything, if you like, and you'll be able to have conversations with it just like I was having just now with ChatGPT. So we will have study buddies, we will have teachers, we will have coaches, kind of, and Elon saying everybody will have one of these within 5 years. I mean, I don't know that 5 years is, but it's possible. And I mean, I'd never kind of bet against Elon Musk because he does have a track record of kind of, producing stuff. So absolutely incredible, the stuff that can be, we can look forward to. At the moment, we're still interacting mainly with a keyboard. We're moving into voice. We're moving into AI is now becoming pretty much ubiquitous. They will be baked into every device that we interact with. We will just talk to them and they will give us what we need.
It's a bit like that kind of evolution. Wearable technology was the big thing 5 years ago, and we thought that was kind of wow, but it's leapfrogged way beyond that. That was more sports and health orientated and monitoring heart rates to it's kind of like that for those Star Trek fans in terms of the
It'll be
technology.
on a watch. Yeah, I mean, our watch will be an AI, and I mean, if you think about the power in your phone right now, well, that will be in your watch, and it will be listening to you, and it will be, hearing your life, if you like, and know everything about you. And when you ask it a question, it will know that you like sushi, but you don't like bacon, and that you're a vegetarian or whatever it is, and it will just take all that into account. And this stuff is kind of like probably 2 years away,
Yeah.
not more than that. Yeah, it's going to be a tremendous disruption.
And Joe, in terms of just, I mean, the foothills of the Himalayas, I think we started out at, and we're kind of in that space. We don't know what's ahead of us in terms of, and there's always challenges going up the Himalaya peaks as well. Where do you, from the consulting profession itself, in terms of tools that, to your mind, are really kind of jump-starting the whole area for management consultants? What's in your mind, where are the advances that you're seeing huge leaps at the moment?
The language processing is massive.
Yeah.
I mean that's my other phone's going. I'm sorry, I can't. The language processing is absolutely huge, and that's going to pervade everything. Our integration and engagement with all these AI tools is going to transition from the keyboard to voice, and
And
before too much longer, it will transition from voice to thought, because there's huge amounts of work being done by Neuralink and by other kind of researchers at the moment to pick up brain waves and brain patterns and translate those into text and actionable moving things on a screen and doing things. So this sounds like science fiction, but there are people who've never been able to talk. There are people who have had, vertebrae shattered and are paralyzed and stuff, now walking, now controlling machines and controlling computers by the power of their thought alone. And if you can, and such is the pace of change, that as soon as we've kind of figured that out at basic level, it's going to accelerate and become mass market in a far shorter space of time than we've ever seen before. I mean, I can see in a very few years, we will just embed a chip. And most of us will have a chip embedded, because if you don't have it, you'll be left behind. You will not be, communicating in the optimal way. Dark mirror is coming.
well, I'll be back, Joe, at this.
I'll be back. Indeed, Arnie. Yes.
Which brings us
This is
neatly
so,
to the end of the program today. And Joe, it's just always such a pleasure to talk to you on these matters and to keep us up to date. I commend all of you to sign up to Joe's LinkedIn page and get his newsletter. It's an extraordinary, helpful, and easy read that he's kind enough to put out there on a regular basis. And indeed, his books are very reader friendly, I have to say. I've got a few of them, and my own knowledge has incrementally increased in a user-friendly manner. So Joe, Garmila Mahagat Korja, as we say down the West, your help and assistance to the Institute in these matters of AI has been extraordinary. And again, we'll be continuing the program into next year, and we hope to have you back. But I would say on behalf of all that are here and those that are about to view it over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure we would welcome the opportunity maybe to touch base with you in due course and ask any questions that come up. It is, as I say, a very exciting time for people in general with this new kind of bridgehead of knowledge and advancement, but again, a concerning time as well for sections of the community of professionals, because as I say, it's encroaching into areas that hitherto would have been a domain safety net in terms of production of knowledge and reports and so on. So I think, if nothing, management consultants as a profession have always been agile and slightly ahead of the curve, because by definition we have to be. So I have great hopes and comfort and confidence in terms of the profession adapting. And we see that with the big practices anyways. They've all kind of very much jumped ahead. And I think the smaller practice, I would say to those that are in that space, actually AI offers you a competitive advantage to be able to compete with the big guys on a like-for-like basis at a very low barrier to entry in terms of costs. So keep up the learning, keep up the knowledge, keep up your CPD. Joe, on behalf of everyone, have a happy Christmas. Don't eat too much turkey, and we look forward to seeing you in good health this time next year. Okay, folks, thank you so much. All the
Thanks,
best,
Matt.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.